Scratchers. I worked overnights at the Cumberland Farms by the Airport Rotary, our gas station and convenience store, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., but on Saturday nights into Sunday morning, the assistant manager Sandra was always late, so sometimes I was there until 10 or 11 a.m., which was only a couple extra hours, and I needed the overtime, which was time and a half, but any amount of time after the sunrise for an overnighter was a lot. There was one guy that used to come in Sunday morning around 7 or 8, and he would stay for a long time. He dressed like a lot of the other contractors that came in early for coffee and the pre-packaged frozen croissants that we just let defrost on the rack, paint-spattered Carhartt overalls and a woolly old flannel thrown over his shoulders, big white bushy beard and great satisfying belly, and he'd spend several hours in the store buying scratch tickets. This was before the renovation, so the point of sale was on the raised island in the middle of the store, the cigarette racks hanging down like defensive batteries on a turret. I would be lightheaded and wobbling from still being up, eyes loose at the register, and he'd come in and buy one $20 ticket at a time, take the ticket back to the back corner next to the door to the stockroom that went to the soda cooler, the empty space of counter past the air pots. He'd buy the ticket, take it to the counter, scratch it, and then come back and buy another. There are different denominations of scratchers, 2s, 5s, 10s, and then the $20, and each had a different type of buyer, the same way cigarettes have different types of buyers. You get a sense of people in the convenience store. I could predict from the parking lot what type of cigarettes people were going to buy. What I mean is, there are Marlboro people, and there are Camel Light people, and never the twain shall meet. Also, there are Merit, Lucky Strike, Benson & Hedges third-party guys, but that's harder to parse out. Except for Virginia Slims. You can spot a Virginia Slims a mile away. $2 scratchers are for drunk people. Hey, look at this. Let's get one. Isn't this fun? Isn't this funny? Look at me. Maybe we'll win. $5 scratchers are for general addicts. These are people for whom scratchers aren't their main vice, but why not throw a couple on top of my purchase of caffeine pills and cough syrup? We sold more of the $10 scratchers than any other. These were for serious, superstitious addicts. Each scratch ticket is serialized, a number down the side of each one. I had to write down the numbers at the beginning and end of each shift for inventory, and the people that buy 10s will ask what the last 2 digits on the serial are. Magic numbers, patterns within patterns, deep attention to the next hit. $20 scratchers were for those that were beyond superstition. They didn't care. They just needed a scratcher. Give me the next one. Give me the next one. And the $20 usually hit. There was always at least $1 back on these, sometimes 5 or 10, so you could keep playing, spending $40 to get back 20, etc., etc. This guy, my Sunday morning big belly white bearded scratcher buyer, his voice was high pitched, pushed through a narrow escape, sounded all the time like it was about to break. He would croak, "Give me a 20," and I'd rip off another one. He'd take it back to the back corner of the store, scratch it off, lose, bring it back. He had this fingernail, the pinky nail of the right hand, which he had grown out 2 inches, filed to a point, and painted bright flamingo pink. His fingers were thick, and his other nails were chewed, stumpy nothing, but this nail was long, polished, and pristine. He used it to scratch the tickets. I saw him do it a couple times. Sometimes if it was getting late and I was still there, he'd stop walking all the way back to the back corner and just scratch at the side of the register, holding the ticket flat with one hand and the hot pink pinky nail twitching, flitting back and forth over the removable silver surface, the dark leavings of possibility curling like erasure shavings. And I know what you're thinking. Coke nail, right? No, this was the scratch ticket nail, the nail's sole and highest purpose. Holy. Ritual. I knew it. In my body. There was no winning. Winning doesn't exist with scratch tickets. I don't want to hear your anecdote about your friend's cousin. This guy came in every Sunday and spent hours in the convenience store and dropped $300, $400 at minimum. It could go up as high as $1,000. We could run out of $20 tickets and he'd move on to the 10s. And so what? Everything the convenience store sells is poison. This was the second Bush era, and out at the pumps, people were filling up their Hummers while the planet died and we invaded Iraq. This guy spent a couple hours spending money to be entertained, and I understand. Poor people deserve to have an escape. Life is too hard. It's just too hard, and people need a release. But the scratch tickets are different to me than the junk or the weed or the booze or the sex. This guy had a state-sponsored hole inside of him that could never be filled. It's the craven weaponization of hope. I'm sorry. What was the original question? Yeah. No. I don't play the fucking lottery.